and get out of here. Why else would you stab him in the heart? You stab him right in the chest, piercing his heart. After he gets back to the car, he tells you that, or Snyder indicates, gets back in the car and he says, I just stabbed like 4 kids. So he knew how many kids he stabbed. He knew how many kids he stabbed, but he knew he stabbed kids. He got to understand here. I don't know if I stabbed anybody, right? We heard that testimony. I don't know if I stabbed. I was the only one with the knife, but he couldn't even say it. But he said it that night. He knew he stabbed kids that night. So we know he did it. They go back down the road. No, before we get there, they take off. De Silva jumps in the car. They take off. They take a left. They go down Adams Drive. They're at the cul-de-sac. He says, stop the car, and throws the knife into the woods. Why? Consciousness of guilt. They'll hear instruction about consciousness of guilt. Why are we getting rid of the weapon, right? Gets back in the car. Go, go, go. They go back down to 36 Laurel Glen. Mackenzie's sister's there. He tells Jack and Tyler, I'm going home with Mackenzie. Jumps in the car with Mackenzie, and the cars leave the area. Mackenzie drops off Keenan and Dimitri, and then they subsequently drop off the defendant at his house. Mackenzie was mad, right? She told you, I was pissed. I didn't want to be there. I was mad at him. They were going there to fight. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be involved in any of that. They were all going there to fight that night. But after the defendant gets dropped off, you hear about the text messages that go back and forth between Mackenzie, who was his then girlfriend, and Raul. And he's saying things like, I can't text anything. I wasn't there. You know I wasn't there. Nothing is happening. Don't text me. I'm going to Florida. I didn't do anything. That was text messaging. They didn't want to put anything in writing. You also hear that he spoke to Tyler De Silva on the phone. And when he spoke to Tyler De Silva on the phone, he says, dude, I fucked up. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. Because he knew what he was doing that night, and now he's having buyer's remorse.
As I've gotten older, I sweat buckets under my boobs. I'm speaking as an OBGYN now. If you can control the...
So again, what was his intent, right? You guys are really going to be able to examine what his intent was. And the judge is going to give you an instruction such as, there's no particular length of time necessary for the defendant to have formed the intent. Intent can be formed in an instant. It can be created in a moment. Intent may be, and usually is, inferred from the circumstances of the crime, since no witness can come into court and testify that they looked into a defendant's mind and saw what his intention was. You can look at the number of wounds inflicted, the location of those wounds on each person's body, the type of instrument used to cause those wounds, and his conduct during all of this. I would submit you could even look at the conduct from Lazy Brook. What was his conduct during that fight, and then for what his intent was later on that night. In this case, the state contends that there were 9 stab wounds inflicted by this defendant on 4 different individuals. They were stab wounds, not slashes. I would suggest to you that a person who stabs multiple people multiple times in areas of the body that would cause serious physical injury and death intended to cause those serious physical injuries and death. There's no other rational conclusion. So that's what this case is about. The defendant was enraged about what had happened earlier. He armed himself and he returned to a house to face those kids with the intent to stab somebody. He could have waited down the street. He could have called the cops. He didn't have to go back. He did. He intentionally went back. It doesn't make sense when someone says, I was very scared, frightened, and panicked, to go put yourself back in that situation. It makes 0 sense. And because of his conduct, 3 people are going to have to live with scars for the rest of their lives, both mentally and physically. And James McGrath lost his life unnecessarily. And the ripple effects that that's caused his family. The credible evidence in this case shows that on that day, he intentionally caused physical injury to Faison Teal. He caused that injury by stabbing him in the upper arm with a dangerous instrument. With regards to Tommy Connery, the credible evidence shows that he intentionally caused serious physical injury to Tommy Connery. He specifically intended to cause that injury by stabbing him 4 times in the upper leg, causing deep stab wounds. You heard testimony from his doctor She was concerned about compartment syndrome and him losing his leg. Deep stab wounds. I mean, deep stab wounds. These are not flailing slash marks. These are deep stab wounds. Again, the manner in which the wounds are the wounds are inflicted. It's not corroborative of slash marks. And he did that with a dangerous injury. With regards to Ryan Hines, he intentionally caused serious physical injury to Ryan Hines. He had the specific intent to cause that injury by stabbing him 3 times in the upper torso, causing a collapsed lung and other injuries to his lower abdomen and hip area. And he did that again with the dangerous instrument. And with regards to Jimmy McGrath, he formed the specific intent to kill Jimmy McGrath at the moment he came back from that car, turned to him, and plunged the knife into his heart. He didn't slash at Jimmy McGrath. He plunged the knife into his heart, through his rib cage, and through his heart, and the poor kid bled to death right there on the front lawn. You know, the judge is going to give you an instruction on sympathy. You need to file that instruction. And I apologize for getting a little choked up here, because I have a son as well. And I can't imagine what it feels like to have that happen.
Why? Why can't I make any changes without an admin approval? Huh?
You should try Monday.com.
I'm swearing off work platforms.
I know you've been hurt before, but Monday.com is different.
All work management platforms are the
And I hope no one else ever has to. I hope no one else has to go through this ever. It's terrible. I apologize for taking a moment. But again, the judge is going to give you an instruction on sympathy, so please follow that instruction on sympathy. But we are confident that after you review all of this evidence, you will find the state has proved each and every element of the charge beyond reasonable doubt. You'll find that the defendant intentionally caused the death of Jimmy McGrath, intentionally caused assault in the first degree to both Ryan Hines and Tommy Connery, intentionally caused physical injury to Faison Tail with a dangerous instrument. We're confident after you review all the evidence, you'll determine this was not self-defense. He provoked this fight. He was the initial aggressor, and he had a duty to retreat, and he should have. The state urges you at this time, well, after you deliberate the evidence, we urge you that you find the defendant guilty of all the crimes charged and the information. The defense will now have an opportunity to speak with you, and when he's finished, I'll come back and speak with you again. Thank you.
Truly, he's not wrong. Truly, nothing that the dude said on that close was wrong. That was like all facts. He went, touched everything. Touched the fact that it was like stabs, not like you were slashing like get away from me. Kind of just on some defensive type shit. Dude was going into people's chests, into their legs, into And again, he didn't have to do it. You know what I mean? Especially when you realize there's fucking a whole bunch of them. And I guess maybe that's going to be the defense. That has to be the only defense, is that they realized they were outnumbered. He realized they were outnumbered and just started attacking based on wanting to defend one of his homies. You know, thinking that one of his homies' lives were in danger or something, or his life at some point was in danger. But ultimately, he was getting, I mean, he was winning a fight, or he had enough time in the fight to get away from it, run to the car, grab the knife, come back to the fight. That part, he better be arguing that he thought his homie's life was in danger, because ultimately you've already gotten out before anybody's wounded, you know what I mean, type shit, beyond punches. But yeah, tough one, especially after so much time has passed. I'm sure hindsight's 20/20. Even the next morning when he's not lit, he probably realized, like, oh shit, I literally killed somebody. But you literally killed somebody, so there's some consequences at the same time. So we're gonna see what the defense is, see what they say. Help me with the ponytail.
Good morning, everyone. Y'all are probably tired of seeing me come up here and set up with all my stuff, so I'll just get right into it. This might be a hard case because it involves young people. It might be difficult because it involves young people, right? But it is not a complicated case. It is a case about the most basic right that any of us have, which is the right to defend ourselves when we're faced with people that are intent on doing us serious physical harm. It could be as much as death, serious disfigurement, and all the other things you're going to hear about in that instruction. You've heard from the state here telling you, I guess, that Lido Valley is a criminal mastermind who came over there with the plan to be able to use all of this so that now I can claim self-defense. You heard Mr. Valley get on the stand. Mr. Valley, a criminal mastermind, can put together a plan like that? And back home, you know, we'd say, son, bless your heart, but that was mighty stupid. There was a whole lot of stupid to go around that night. There was a fire that got lit earlier in the night, and it started with all that drinking that was going on. And nobody there to say, what are we doing? How do we come into all of this? That's the first fire that was lit. And there were a lot more along the way. But again, not a complicated case. Mr. Valley took the stand. He talked to you. He didn't have to do that. Mr. Valley used a 3-inch pocket knife that Jack Snyder gave him, that Jack Snyder brought, that Mr. Valley didn't even know existed prior to that night. Mr. Valley didn't even know existed prior to Mr. Snyder giving it to him. Where was Lido Valley seated when Jack Snyder pulled that knife out and had it on his lap? Was he in the front passenger seat? No. That was Tyler DeSilva. Lido Valley is behind him with Mackenzie Trafficante on his lap. There's no way he can see that knife in Jack Snyder's lap. And Jack Snyder's the one who told you he took that out and put it in his own lap because he was so scared about what was going on. So Lido Valley can't see that knife, doesn't know it exists. Mr. Snyder told you that there was no way that Mr. Valley could have known it was there before. He'd never brought it out. He'd never said to him, hey, I got this knife. Let's go riding over to 43 LGD and get a little payback. None of that happened. So it doesn't make any sense when Jack Snyder tells you that Lido Valley asked him for a knife
We're Phoenix Energy, a family-owned oil company focused on unleashing American oil from North Dakota and Montana. We've already sold over 2.
That he didn't even know existed. Now I get it. Maybe some of you want to believe Jack Snyder and Tyler DeSilva. Maybe you say to yourself, gosh, those kids, nice looking kids, they get up here on the stand. Why shouldn't I believe them? Well, ask yourself, why should you believe them over Mr. Valley? Is there something about Mr. Valley and the way he came up here and took the stand and testified that tells you you should disbelieve him, but believe those two? I didn't hear the state talk at all.
You know?
What are exhibits 94 and 96? I bet you remember. I hope it weighed heavily on your mind. Imagine if I came up here and asked you to believe witnesses. I can't even call them paid witnesses. They have something more valuable than any money they could ever be given. What is more valuable than a complete immunity agreement? Anything? Is there anything that a 18, 19, 20-year-old kid would not come up here and do or say in order to avoid any penalty whatsoever for their actions? Does that bother you? Does that disturb you? It should. Does that sound like justice for all? Does that sound like justice for some? Does that sound like equal justice to you? Going to give those two kids immunity agreements. Jack Snyder drove the car over there, gives the knife over to my client. Tyler DeSilva gets in that same car, rides over there to 43 Laurel Glen Drive, says he's going to go make peace. Listen, there was a lot of stupid going around that night. Tyler DeSilva got up here on the stand and told you, well, I thought I could go up and talk to them because I didn't have a problem with them. Maybe he did. Maybe some of you sitting here look at these kids and think of your own kids. State's attorney did. I know I did. Would any of you put your faith in something as important as this in a 16 or 17-year-old? Would you have reason to doubt that maybe they would fail to go to the grocery store and get everything that you had for them on a list? But we're going to sit here and expect these folks to give us the evidence that we need in order to convict somebody of murder who's charged with the same things that these folks could and should be charged with. They told you that. They know what they're exposed to. I went over it with them. I asked them about it. They know exactly what they're doing when they're coming in here. Jack Snyder's story doesn't make any sense. He gave him the knife because he asked for the knife that he didn't know existed. It's not just implausible. It's not just improbable. It is impossible. You don't ask for something that you don't know exists. He didn't know it existed before that moment. So we watched the ring video. The ring video is the 36 Laurel Glen Drive. That's exhibit 44. You'll have that available to you. You see the car stop. You see Mackenzie get out. She's walking up ahead. Raul's already on the curb, a little ashamed, in a bad situation here. Mackenzie's obviously upset with him. She's walking down towards the curb. Tyler DeSilva gets out of the front. And then the car stops. And it's there for some time before it drives off. And Mr. Valley told you that's when Jack Snyder threw him the knife and said, just in case. Just in case what? Just in case this situation that I caused over here at 43 Laurel Glen Drive comes running down the street at you, throwing things and hollering things, and I'm about to drive off and leave you, does that make more sense than, he was pissed off. He was the most pissed off. He was angrier than anybody else there.
Trying to find the best way to pay off debt? Your home equity could help, and it might be easier to tap.
And he asked me for that knife that he didn't know existed. Jack Snyder has every incentive in the world to make these folks and you promises that he just can't deliver on. He's got there is no more powerful incentive in the whole world than what he's got. What are the terms of that agreement that he was given? He's got to come in here and testify truthfully. But who makes that determination? Who's he working for when he's under that immunity agreement? Not me. Not you. The state. And what did they all tell you almost without fail about what they did before they came in here? They met with the state's attorney a number of times. To do what? To get ready to make sure that when they took that stand, they were going to testify truthfully. And I put air quotes around that because what does truthfully mean in this instance? To those guys, as they told you, it meant not deviating from the things that they had said, the things that they waited 7 months and after they'd gotten an immunity agreement before they were going to say anything. Now, when we were in here during jury selection, some of you said, well, there can be a lot of gray. There's more than two sides to every story. That was a bit of truth. How many sides to a story did we get here? And some of you said, well, a lot of people will lie. And you said that maybe you had a little bit of an idea about what had happened here. You've got way more of an idea now about what happened here. And some of you said, well, I don't expect everyone to testify truthfully. People may want to defend or protect their families. You need more than just common sense to determine credibility. Some of you said you had an experience with a kangaroo court. And you know what that's like. Don't turn this into a kangaroo court by putting any more weight into the testimony of Tyler Da Silva and Jack Snyder than what it deserves. And it doesn't deserve any more weight than the paper and the ink on which it is written, because that incentive is overwhelming. That's more than just defending your friends or your family. That's defending yourself. And some of you said, if we don't follow the law, our system wouldn't work. It's not here just for one person. It's not here just for a few people. It's here for all of us. And that's right. You all take seats that were laid out for you hundreds of years ago. You come in and you take those seats. And you got to put your sympathy aside. Sympathy for the victim, sympathy for the complainant, sympathy for anybody. It's got no place here. Some of you have experience taking things through a process, doing quality control and making sure that everything has been met along the way. Use that experience here. Does this make sense? Would this pass through quality control? I told you before, some of these witnesses, if not all of them, are promising more than they can deliver. Imagine if somebody tells you something that just can't be true. Somebody tells you they got to make a delivery and it's going to take them an hour and a half to get from here, in the middle of the day, through the city, down to DC in 3.5 hours. They're making you a promise because they want you to believe them. They know you'd be really happy if they could actually make that trip, but they can't deliver on that. That's more than what they could possibly do.
If you guys have ever watched my stream, you've probably noticed my dogs. Reptar, talk to him, buddy. Hey.
That's what these witnesses are doing for you. They're telling you things that they can see that couldn't have been seen. Why are they doing that? They want to avoid consequences that Mr. Valley is now saddled with. They want to protect themselves. They want to protect their friends. And they want to protect the memory of a loved one that they lost. Now, during jury selection, I asked you all if you could be open to the idea of self-defense. And to a person, you told me that you could. Some of you said you'd had to use some self-defense before. And you said you'd be open to it and you could understand that the law allows you to use self-defense. To defend yourself, to defend loved ones. And whether or not you had experience with doing that, you said you'd be open to it. I don't know what you thought you were going to hear or what you thought self-defense looked like. Some of you had experience with it, some of you don't. But this is what self-defense looks like. It's messy. It's chaotic. It transpires quickly, and you don't have to make the best decision. That's not what the law requires. That's not. It's a higher bar than anybody could be expected to make. It requires that you make a reasonable decision, that you make a decision that you had a reason for. You watch those videos, you know there's a reason for the defense that he used. He's down on the ground. He's getting kicked, stomped, punched, and he's being given no reason to believe that that's going to stop unless he makes it stop. Nobody's saying, that's enough, guys. Everybody up. Just a few licks and then we'll let him go. That didn't happen. What did happen? People joined in the fray. There were at least 15 to 20 people out there, at a minimum. And you know that because if you watch that video, you can count them. Michael Sampieri, Sal Perry, Jacob Villalobos, Matthew Lockovich, Ryan Hines, Ty Wood, Tanner Chernowski, Tommy Connery, Charlie Connery. The list goes on. We heard about all of them. We see some of them. Alex Burnson. Some of them couldn't be identified. Those are at least the people that we can see. And Mr. Valley's down on the ground, getting kicked, punched, can't tell what's going on around him. Ryan Hines is on top of it. And Ryan Hines is punching him in the face. And Ryan Hines tells you, I didn't think he was aiming for me necessarily. Because he wasn't. He reaches in his pocket and he takes out the only thing that he's got there. The only thing at that point that he thinks is going to make them stop, because they've not given him any reason to believe that they're going to do so on their own. And maybe you're thinking to yourself, well yeah, but he said he brought a knife to a fist fight. No, he didn't bring that knife to that fist fight. He had that knife in his pocket because Jack Snyder took it out and threw it to him. And he's got some kids running down the way. He picks it up, sticks it in his pocket. Now you heard the state argue to you, well, you know, they submit that that's when he gave it to him now, is when we see it on that Ring video. Agreeing, I guess, with what Mr. Valley tells us, which is in fact, as you will recall, entirely different than what Mr. Snyder says, than what Keenan Frasick says. Snyder tells you he doesn't give him the knife until it's asked for, which again is completely ridiculous and unbelievable. But he tells you that happens.
Probably one of the biggest questions that we get from our customers was, well, how do you really go about buying gold?
After they're looking at the car, after he's dropped them off, driven down the street, leaving them there, comes back, and then everybody else who was still in the car gets out. Do you remember that? That was Jack Snyder's testimony. He didn't tell you that he threw it to him while they were right there. And Keenan Frasick, what does he describe? A mad scramble through the console, through the glove compartment. Where's that knife? Give me the fucking knife. Didn't happen. It's just unbelievable. It's not what Jack Snyder or anybody else describes. But Jack Snyder and Tyler DeSilva and all these other kids that are in that car, all these kids that had once been his friends, all these kids who haven't talked to him ever since that night, though they still remain very close with one another. Those kids all told you that Mr. Valley was the most upset of anyone there. More upset